Hey, Burns, how are you? Hey, Cindy, how are you? Can y'all hear me? I moved to a different room this time because, the Wi-Fi was giving me issues last time. So I'm hoping if that I move to a different space that it'll be better. Can y'all hear me pretty good? Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me talking? Oh, okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you, Burns. I appreciate you so much for being here. You too, Cindy. Fantastic. I'm going to try to focus too more on looking at the camera today. I'll give you, it's not quite 8:30 yet, so give people a couple minutes to come in. How are y'all doing tonight? Let me know if things get grainy in any kind of way. I don't have my, oh, thank you so much, Burns. Thank you. You are awesome. You are so awesome. I appreciate you so much. So much. When I first met you, I didn't know really what a YouTube cheerleader was. And I thought, that's an interesting concept. And then I just started watching your channel and I was like, wow, she is phenomenal. I was like, she really does support small YouTubers, and like your whole channel, the Vern's Junk Closet channel, is completely dedicated to that. And I just think it's phenomenal what you do over there. So we don't even realize how we need cheerleaders in our lives. Like just a cheerleader, somebody to support you, just because you're you, not because you're family, not because you're a close friend, but just because you're you. And just that's enough to have somebody support you. And I just think what you do is phenomenal. So I appreciate you so much. And for sure, I hope so many people get connected to you, but you are growing and growing. And I just pray you continue to grow infinitely. Setting up video product reviews. Is that going to be on the VMAX show? Okay, well, it is 8:31 on my clock, so I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, you do everything over there to assist all YouTubers. We need to help each other. Yes, we do. We do need to help each other. Oh, on the VMAX show. Fantastic. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing your product review. So welcome for those of you who are watching. I see we have 4 people watching so far. So welcome to You Can Talk. My name is Ruth Finney. This is only my second live stream, so don't feel like you've missed anything as far as lives go. The first one I just talked a little bit about myself, so hopefully you can watch the replay on that and kind of get to know me a little bit. Tonight, the way I plan on running my live streams is talking about like kind of having a topic for the week. So the topic that I put out on Tuesday, the tip that I put out on Tuesday, and the lesson that I put out on Thursdays will be what we talk about on Saturdays. So if you got any, good bits of information in either of those videos, or you have some questions, or you want to talk about something, then that's what these Saturday Night Live Talk to Ruth live sessions are for on Saturdays. So that is my intention for these live streams. So if you didn't get to catch the video, my Tuesday tip or my Thursday lesson, you can actually go back and watch it because we're going to be here for another hour. But if you've seen it already, then you guys are welcome to listen in. So I'm happy that you're here. This channel basically, again, since y'all are new, to all my new subscribers, I know I got a lot of new subscribers recently, thanks to the whole drop the link day that happens every day. And I will talk about that. That's Vern's Junk Closet. That is B Amazing Sylvia, Just Teresa, Clean Mills. Actually, I have a Team Ranger 92308. He's on there. And Pandy's Hair Candy and more. They all do this drop the link day. So you guys have really blessed me. That happens every day. And you all have really blessed me to help grow my subscribers. So welcome to any new subscribers who are watching. And if you're a faithful follower, welcome to You Can Talk Live as well. So we will be discussing this week's lessons. So on Tuesday, we talked about how to approach and have difficult conversations. Everything, like I say, that I do on this channel is about things that I've personally experienced. And of course, a lot of times in my life, I've had to have some difficult conversations. And it took me a while to figure out how to make those conversations more productive so that I wasn't just spinning my wheels, wasting my time, going to bed at night, worrying, stressing about, did I say what I needed to say? Did I really get my point across? Do they really understand what it is that I'm feeling and what I want? So that is, kind of how this lesson came about. So I know, hopefully I'm not the only one that has these struggles. So in our Tuesday tip, we talked about what we see is the problem from our perspective, because so many times there'll be a problem, but we don't see the problem the same. Because number one, first of all, one person may decide that there's not even a problem, and the other person may decide there is a problem, but it's not the problem that you think. So I'll just give an example. Let's just say something like money, right? Money can definitely be something that can be a big issue in relationships, all types of relationships. So for instance, one of you may think that the issue is that you're not earning enough money. The other person's not earning enough money. And the other person may think, well, no, we're earning enough money. You're just spending too much of it. So we trying to live too far beyond our means. So that's like a clear issue where we can see something totally different. So that first question was to challenge us. What is it that we see as the problem from our perspective? Because we want to make sure that we're seeing the problem the same, number one. Because if you're not seeing the problem the same, then you're definitely going to be approaching it in a different way. What? All right. I'm sorry. My husband is talking to me from another room. So, and then the second thing is, when you want to think about a difficult problem, is you have to decide, why is this important to me? Because sometimes we bring up issues that are, really not that important. So we'll spend a lot of time circling around something that we really need to talk about, or we'll spend a lot of time, bringing up a issue that's less significant than the real problem. And when we really need to figure out what is the problem, and why is it important to me? Is it important because it's a personal issue? Is it something that we just want? Or is it something that's truly affecting our relationship? So if it's something that's just a personal problem, you're going to have a hard time getting that other person to see it the way you see it. But if it's something that's affecting the relationship, or it's something that's affecting your growth or your purpose, or something that you're trying to do, then, you have to decide why it's important to me. Is this matter even worthy of me bringing up? Because if it's not worthy of you bringing it up, then you're going to have a hard time selling the person on trying to help you do something about it. Let's see. They are always. Oh, Cindy says they are always wrong and I'm always right. Now, I know I have definitely had that perspective at times where I think I'm right and they are definitely wrong, but we have to open our minds and our ears to be able to see it from the other person's shoes. And for some people, just that alone is the challenge, being able to see it from the other person's perspective. Like, why is it that you feel the way you do? And that's why it's so important to say why it's important to you. This is important to me because of this. It's making me feel this way, or it's preventing me from doing this, or we're having trouble in this relationship because you're not understanding why this is so important to me. So we have to have that. You have to have that thought in your mind so that you can let the person know, and don't assume that they should just know, because that's another issue that we make. We assume that they should know why this is important to me, or why I'm mad about this, or why we need to talk about it. They should just know. And they don't. Sometimes they don't, because they don't even see it as a problem, or they don't see the problem the same as you see it. So for sure, you want to have that thought in your mind as to why it's important to you, and be able to let the person know, be willing to let the person know why it is important to you. Okay. And then the third thing we talked about is, what is it that I really need? Right? So what is it that we really want? Do we want the person to change their perspective, or do we want the person to change in action? Because that is why we're talking. We're not talking just because we want to fuss and we want them to hear what it is we're fussing about. We want to see some actual change. So we have to decide, okay, if I'm going to have this discussion, is it something that I want them to see and understand, or is it something that I want them to do? And so that's another thing we have to have in our mind. Yes. And Cindy here says, I love that I have my sister to point out my issue so I can fix it. And sometimes we need that. We need other people in our community or in our immediate circle somewhere that we can trust to tell the issue to, so they can help us sometimes see it from a different perspective. Because we can think that we're so right and be so sold on our thought and so sold in how we feel about it until we get tunnel vision. We can only see it in one way, and we need other people to point out to us that, hey, you kind of seeing this the wrong way, or you're not looking at that fully clearly. So for this reason or for that reason. Oh, you don't have anyone? Well, you do now. You do now, Burns. you can talk to me anytime. I am going to be putting my email out so that anyone can share, anything that they're struggling with, any communication issues you're having, and you can jump on and send me an email, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So if you are a subscriber, if you are part of the Talk family, you now have somebody to talk to. And if you're not, I don't have time for you. I'm kidding. No, go ahead and email me. And we'll definitely, I'm definitely willing to talk. And then the fourth thing that we talked about in our tip for Tuesday is, what am I willing to commit to? Right? So here it is. We see the problem. We see what the problem is. We figured out why it's important. We understand what it is that we need, but we also have to be willing to include ourselves in the issue. So if we are presenting a problem, we have to realize that it is a team effort for the change to occur. So for instance, you have to be willing to commit to something that can't just be all on the other person. It's not all the other person's responsibility to fix the problem, whether it's our problem or their problem. Even if it's an issue that they're bringing to us, we have to be willing to commit to put in some effort to make the change. So if it's a money issue, like let's take that money issue, for instance. one person is seeing it that you spend too much, and the other person is saying, well, you don't earn enough. So if you want the problem to be addressed, if you want it to be, I hate to say fixed, because not everything can just be fixed. This channel is about progress, not necessarily perfection. So, and that doesn't happen overnight. But what you want to do is be willing to commit to make an effort in the change. So if that means that I need to spend less, or if the other person, or I need to, think about taking on a extra form of income, or we need to work on something together, then you're going to be much more effective figuring out with putting yourself in the equation. So when we put ourselves in the equation, then the other person is like, okay, well, they're not expecting me to just do everything. And that automatically breaks down a barrier and puts you in a team perspective to where you're working together. It's like, well, they're bringing me this problem, but they are willing to actually put in some effort to help make the change. So if they're willing to put in some effort, then I guess I can be too. But if you just want the other person to do all the changing or fix their issue, change your perspective, quit doing that, then you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time selling them or getting to understand why they need to be doing anything different than what they're already doing. Because if you're not willing to put in any effort, then I'm definitely not. So, when you present that, here is what I think that we can do about this problem, and here is what I'm willing to commit to doing about this problem, then they'll be like, okay, then you have more of their ear. You have more of their ear. They're more willing to listen. Okay, well, yeah, let me find, what is it you're willing to do? What is it you're willing to do? Because if you're willing to do something, then okay, I'll be willing to do this. And you can start from there with those little itty bitty steps, with both of you all willing to work on the change. So that was our Tuesday tip, basically in a nutshell. What is it that we see is the problem? Why is it important? What do I really need? And what am I willing to commit to? If you can incorporate just those 4 things in your conversation before you approach conversation, you're already going to be well ahead of the game. You're already going to be well ahead in your conversation. So, and that's just that's just a better way to approach a conversation, and that helps to make your words and your conversations more valuable so that you're not spinning around in circles. So then we went on to our lesson on Thursday, which was cut the chatter. When it matters, cut the chatter. So how many times have we gotten brave enough to decide we're going to have this conversation, or angry enough that we decided we have to have this conversation? Then, but we get to a place where we're talking with them, but we're just, it's like chatter. You're just talking in circles. You going over one thing, you're talking about another thing, and you're not getting anywhere in the conversation. And that can be very frustrating and draining, mentally draining, emotionally draining, physically draining. So we have to get to where we can, cut the chatter and get to the point of the matter. So I tend to be a very direct person, and sometimes that can come across as, ruthless. People say, oh, that's ruthless, but I like to make sure that people understand what it is I'm frustrated about. Now, sometimes it takes me too many words to get to that point. So I have to figure out, how to trim my words down, especially when it comes to, if you're talking to a man, they tend to need less words to get the point across. But what they do need is more compassion. They need, hi, Mansa Queen, welcome in. I'm so glad you're here. We're sitting up here talking. So we need less. Sometimes men need less words and more direct information. So, but if you're talking to a woman, a lot of times, that requires they need more detail. They want to know more sometimes the more information you can give, the better. So, your audience makes a difference as who it is whether how much chatter you want to cut out. You say they need a lot of validation, men need a lot of validation, or women? Because I kind of think that goes both ways, actually. I think men and women both need validated. I think people in general need to have our issues or our thoughts validated. So I really think that goes both ways. I can't say you think it's more men. Men need to be more validated. I think women do too, though. I think women definitely need to seek validation too in conversations. So I know I do, because I feel like if I'm validated in my conversation, then you understand what it is that I'm feeling or why it is that I'm feeling this way. And if you can't validate it, then I don't have trust that you understand what it is, why I'm seeing this as a problem, or what it is that I have the issue with. So for me, I think that kind of goes both ways with the validation. But so when it comes to the chatter, one of the biggest things, let's see, women want to be heard, men want to be validated. I still think that goes both ways. I do. Women want to be heard and men want to be validated. And I think it goes both ways for men and women. I could be, wrong, but, everyone, I'd be interested to find out if more women think that we need to be heard or validated, which way it goes. So maybe I'll get some of that in the comments. One of the reasons that we struggle to clear the chatter in our minds is that we are dealing with fear. We have fear when we are approaching these difficult conversations. And one of the main things we fear a lot of times is especially if you're a non-combative person, is whether or not they're going to get angry. And if a person is going to be angry and you're a non-combative person, then you're going to be very hesitant to have that conversation. But if you are a combative person, then you're going to be ready to go. You're going to be ready to get up there and say what you need to say. And it's ding, ding, let's go, let's get it. let's talk this out. So, but either way, fear can be a part of that reason that we allow chatter to enter our minds. And the other reason we have fears is that we're afraid that if we have those difficult conversations, that we're going to lose some benefit that the relationship is providing. So, maybe we're getting love, maybe we're getting attention, maybe we're getting taken out, maybe we're, there's some, connecting relational benefit to it, some resource that the person is providing. And we're afraid that if we have this difficult conversation that we need to have with them, that we're going to lose that benefit. And sometimes we feel like we can't afford to lose that benefit. I want to be right. End of story. Yeah, some people just want to be right. They don't care. They're like, I just want to be right. You are right. And then the third reason, that is one of the huge reasons why we are afraid to have these difficult conversations, is because we're afraid that the person will no longer want to be with us. So especially if it's something bad, if you had a something bad that you need to tell the person, something that you've done that they're going to be angry about, they're going to see you differently, they're no longer going to trust you, and so they may no longer want you in their life, and we don't know whether or not we can handle not having this person in our life, and that a lot of times will prevent us from having that important, difficult conversation that we need to have. We're afraid to tell them that we don't like something, that this is no longer working for us, or that we're having a problem when it comes to this, because we don't want them to decide to not be in our life, especially if you're someone that doesn't have a lot of people in your life to begin with. And you finally get somebody in your life and something bad happens and you have to tell talk about this difficult issue, or you're unhappy about something, you're afraid they're going to be gone because we're afraid that we're not going to get anyone else to replace them. And we have to get rid of that mentality that, number one, if you're a child of God, number one, he's always there for you. And then number two, he's always going to provide someone for what we need. I like to call him a ram in the bush. When we think that no one is going to be there, that we're going to have to do that, he will always send someone there just when you need it. I'll never forget, even when I went through my divorce, from my first marriage, I had to go to the courthouse that day. Hi, Janine. How are you, sis? So glad to see you. Hey, Blessed Life. Welcome in. Welcome in, Blessed Life. Good to see you. I'll never forget when I was, going through my divorce, and I had to go to court to, do the final, papers and the final thing to happen. And I remember how daunting that day felt. It was like, OMG, I have to go to this place. I'm here by myself. It was in the middle of the day. I had to take off from work. And I thought, my goodness, how am I going to do this? Am I really, this is really happening. And I remember sitting in the court and walking in, and lo and behold, if there was not a lawyer there that went to a church that I had recently attended, and we had recently connected. And she was actually going through a similar situation. We were going through a divorce class together, actually. And so she was a brand spanking new lawyer. And if God didn't have her there in that courthouse doing my case on the day that I had to go before the judge. So I have truly in my life learned to trust that God will have what you need there when you need it. He will meet you where you are. You can be in another town, you can be in another city, you can be going through any difficult situation, and you don't have to be afraid that someone will not be there for you, because God's going to be there for you. And if you need someone physically there, he will provide a perfect stranger sometimes to come into our lives just when we need it, to provide the things that we need to have, especially if it involves purpose. So if you're just doing something that's just selfish and self-promoting out of the way, then you may not get he may not provide for that. But if it involves purpose, you can rest assured that he will provide what you need. If you're starting a business, if you're starting a new relationship, if you're embarking upon a new journey, if you are whatever it is you're doing, if it involves purpose, he will provide what you need. Right now, I am 100% dependent on him, providing me with what I need to just do this YouTube live cast and live stream. So I'm appreciative of that. So fear gets in the way. So we talked about in Deuteronomy 31:6, how to be strong and courageous and do not fear. To be strong and courageous and do not fear. So that's how we are to approach those difficult conversations. We have to be strong, we have to be courageous, and we can't be fearful of the outcome, especially when we know that if we don't say what needs to be said, that it's going to cause more damage to the relationship than it is good. So it can be more damaging to a relationship to hold things in our hearts that we need to say. So we have to get those things off our chest and trust that God will iron it out. I've had to have some very difficult conversations with my husband and about all kinds of things. And I remember literally feeling like, oh Lord, how on earth am I going to tell this man this? I know what he's going to say, what he's going to think. I know how he's going to respond. I know how long it's going to take him to recover. And I was like, Lord, you got to help me with this. And you just have to stand up and stand in faith and walk and say what you need to say. And God works it all out. Now, it may get difficult. It may be uncomfortable for a little while. And it may get worse before it gets better. But the thing is, it will get better. It will get better over time. Sometimes it happens quickly and sometimes it takes a long time. But just knowing that it will get better and getting that monkey off your back, like just being free to not feel held captive to that thing that we need to talk about, get off our chest. Like it haunts your every thought. Like you'll find yourself thinking about it throughout the day. You can't focus. You'll be sleeping about it, dreaming about it, and it will haunt. It will haunt your every thought. So, and that's what the enemy's plan is. His plan is to keep us in fear so that we're held captive and not able to focus on the purpose that God has intended for us. So we have to be willing to be courageous and be brave through the fear and say the things that we need to say in order to better the health of our relationships. All right. So then he goes on, our manufacturer, and I talk about God being our manufacturer because he created us perfect in his image. And in First Corinthians chapter 16, verses 13 through 14, he says, be watchful, stand firm in faith, and act like men, but approach in love. Right? So that is the part that we absolutely forget to leave out of our conversations, is the approach in love, because we can feel so strongly or be so angry about this difficult conversation that we have to have that we completely leave love out of the picture. Because most of the time, let's be honest, when we're angry, we're definitely not feeling very loving. So it's hard to find loving words or to feel like you're being loving when you need to have a difficult conversation, especially if it's something that you're angry about. So I want you to change your mind or your thought about when I say love. Love is not, I don't mean walking up to the person and saying, I know you're not going to like this, but I need to say this. It's not about, coming across sometimes coming across and speaking words of love means just speaking truth. It means speaking truth, but speaking it in love. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm speaking in love is I will start my conversation with something good, right? And or with something that is true, something that I know. And then I will insert what I'm seeing is the problem. And then I always like to try to have a solution. I am huge on that. Like, don't bring me a problem if you haven't had a thought about a solution. That is like one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, you're bringing me the problem like you want me to just solve it. But what are your thoughts about it? What do you think we should do about it? Like, I want to know. So that's something that can drive me crazy quick. Like, don't just dump a problem on me and expect me to figure it out, So when we are needing to have a difficult conversation, speak first what you know to be true. So you can say something like, because I know that we have this goal, or because I know that we love each other, or because I know that the plan was originally for us to be doing this, I need to have this conversation with you because I feel like we're getting off track from what our original intentions were. So whether that is to start a business, whether it is to, set a goal in your relationship, or whether it's to embark upon something new, or if you've gotten off track or you've gotten off course and it's like, hey, and you kind of feel this, wait a minute, this is not going the way that we talked about. And so so I like to speak because I know that we have this goal, because I know you're a kind-hearted person, because sometimes people go through different things and they'll start exhibiting behavior, or they'll start exhibiting, words coming out of their mouths that are not who we know them to be. And sometimes we have to remind people of who they actually are. Because I know you are a loving man, or because I know you are a caring woman, or because I know you have a heart of gold. I want to have this conversation with you so that we can talk about, what it is I'm seeing, or what it is that's changing, or how it is that we've gotten off track. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So I start out with what we know to be true. So that way we're on the same footing. Okay. It's like, okay, I know they know that I'm, going through something, but they know that I'm still a good person on the inside. I'm going to take a look at these comments here just for a second. That is totally my husband. He hates when I bring up a problem without a solution. Yes, that's my pet peeve, because it makes you feel like all the responsibility is on you to fix the problem. And when you're in a relationship, it's a team effort, whether that's a business relationship or a loving relationship, it is a team effort. So when you just dump a problem on somebody and expect them to fix it, even if what you think is a solution is not going to be a solution, just throw something out there. Well, I kind of thought about us doing this, but I'm not sure if that'll work. So can you tell me what you think about it? Just show them that you've put forth some effort in a thought. So even if it's not a great one, it's like, well, I kind of thought about this, but I don't think that's going to work out too well. So I'm here because I want to see what you think about it, or any suggestions that you may have, and let them know I'm open to hear what it is that you have to say. And that alone removes barriers, and it prevents people from feeling like it's all your responsibility to fix. And that's a big stressor, especially for men. If you are a male and you are a provider and you are a leader in your home, it can be very stressful to feel like you have to fix every single problem that occurs in the house. Because number one, if you're a wife, or if you're working to be a wife, you are a helpmate. So they want to be able to look to you for help. And sometimes that involves, well, this is what I think about maybe what we can do about it, instead of just dumping everything onto the man, or onto the leader in the house. So that's something that's one of the reasons why it's very effective when you bring a problem, that you bring a potential solution. Let's see. Solution oriented mindset. Yes, I am very, very solution oriented. Welcome, Apostle Edgar Capenga. Just had a tough conversation with my husband, says Janine. Let's see. What if you ask for a solution and he doesn't think it's a problem? Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning of the stream. So you want to make sure that you all are on the same page with what is actually the problem. So if the person doesn't see it as a problem, that's when you have to go into, this is why I see it as a problem, and this is why I feel it's important, and this is how it's affecting me or this relationship. So you have to kind of sell them on what you think the problem is from your perspective, because if they're not seeing it as a problem, you have to help them see it as a problem. And hopefully they're open and willing to at least see that why it's a problem for you, even if it's not a problem for them. So, and that's definitely the prayer that you want to try to make sure that you get on the same page as, what is the problem, why I see it as a problem, and why I see it as a problem, why it's important to me, and then what is it that I need? We talked about this in our tip earlier. What is it that I need to change? Do I need you to change your perspective, or do I need you to change a behavior? And then also, you have to be willing to make a commitment to help in that change. So it can't just be the other person fixing everything that's happening. It has to be me involved in it as well. Like, this is what I'm willing to do to help this change come about. So, and I need to know, what are you willing to commit to? Because this is what I'm willing to commit to. And those words have to be said. It's so important to speak what it is that you want. You can't just assume the person should know, because they don't always know. Because number one, like I said, they may not even see it as a problem. So you have to speak what it is you see as the problem, and then you have to speak what it is that you're willing to commit to. It's kind of like writing it down on a piece of paper or signing a contract, my word is bond type mentality. Like, this is what I said I'm commit to, and commit to doing those things. Because when we commit to doing the words that we say, we bring integrity back into our relationship, and that helps to build trust. If you're struggling with trust in your relationship, 9 times out of 10, because it's not following through with you, you're not a person that follows through with your words. So if you're not following through with your words, you're going to have a hard time building trust in your relationship. And if you want to build trust in your relationship, the fastest way to do it is to be a person that follows through with your words. So that means we can't just say words carelessly out of our mouths that we know we're not going to follow through with, and then wonder why we're struggling with trust in our relationships. So that's one of the important things. All right. So we talked about speaking in love. That was the lesson, speaking in love, which means also involves us speaking truth. So we want to speak what it is that we know to be true, because I know you're a good person, because I know you're a kind-hearted person, because I know our goal is to have this or to do that, or because I know we have purpose, or because I know we, saw or have the same vision about something. Or we believe in each other, or we support each other, or we love each other, whatever it is. I want to have this conversation. And so then you can begin, that's when you can dump, or I hate to even say dump, but that's when it is you can reveal what it is you see as the problem. So let's go back to the money issue, the money example. We're both seeing money as the problem. So you can say, because I know we have a goal that we want to build a home, or we want to start a business, or we want to get out of debt, because I know that is our goal, it is important to me that we talk about this money issue, because we're getting off track with what we said we wanted to accomplish with our money situation. So maybe that means, and then begin to talk about where it is you see the person getting off track. Well, I see, we're spending extra money over here, or I see too much is going over there, or I see we're not saving money here, or maybe it's been some medical issues or some certain situations that have happened, because sometimes money issues aren't even just, aren't things that are willful. They just happen. They're just life circumstances. Hello, positive pusher. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm here to give nuggets. I love passing out nuggets of good information. So get all you can get. All right. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. We want to say what we know, and then we want to say what it is the problem. And then we want to talk about what we think is a possible solution. That's a tough subject, so I just hide money in a sense. Whoa! Ooh, that's a whole nother lesson when it comes to hiding money. Oh my gosh. Let's not talk about hiding money, because that's a sore subject in relationships. That can be a sore subject. So there's so many different burns. You opened a can of worms there. When you talk about hiding money. So, and I understand it in so many different ways. Sometimes it's almost necessary, and then sometimes it's not, sometimes it's not. And we have to decide when exactly it is necessary to hide money and when it's not, because everybody don't see that the same. And different circumstances and different situations can definitely determine whether or not that's something that should or shouldn't be. But we're not going to talk about that tonight, because it will be here a whole nother hour. All right. So once we, say what it is that is the problem, then, or what we know to be true, then we can speak on the problem, and then we can speak on potential solutions. And from there, speak about what it is that we're willing to do to make that solution happen. Right. So, like I said, and then you're able to break down a barrier, because it's like, okay, we're working on this together. We're trying to figure out together how we're going to fix this problem. It's not just me trying to fix it, or me expecting you to fix together. And that's always the goal. When we're struggling in a relationship, when we're struggling in communication and struggling in our relationships, the main thing you want to do is get on the same page with what you're seeing is the problem, so that you can talk through it. Um, so tell me what you all are tell me something that you all are struggling with. Can you tell me something that you all are struggling with when it comes to communication, that you're seeing, that you're trying to figure out how to approach it? If it's not too sensitive and you don't mind sharing it, tell me something that you're struggling with saying to a person, or it could just be a subject matter. It could just be a subject, and or how to approach it, because I want this to be productive for you all. So if there's something that you feel like you're struggling with figuring out how to say it, um, let me know. Just put it in the chat so I can kind of give you some ideas and thoughts about how you can begin to approach, how you can go about saying what it is that you need to say. Okay. All right. And then, so I'll wait if anyone has anything like that. But then once we have talked about the problem, once we have given some possible solutions, then we have to trust that God will work out the situation. Now, when a situation is getting worked out, realize that it's not always going to work out in the way that we think that it should work out. So the outcome is not always what we want it to be, especially when God is involved in answering and helping us fix the problem. So a lot of times we think, okay, I told this to God. I told the person what it is I'm feeling, and now I expect to see the change, and I want this to be the result. And sometimes that is definitely not going to be the result. And then we get upset and think that it didn't work, or that it's not right, or that it was a waste of time. When a lot of times what we don't realize is that God is going to work it out for the best interest of everyone involved. And sometimes that doesn't mean just for us, it doesn't mean just for the other person, but it means for the good of the whole. So let me look at one of the things here. Let's see. It says, I'm struggling with me and my husband's culture and how he sees things. And then the other one, I've had a hard time telling my husband something needs fixing because he's not handy until I find a handyman, and he's not home when the handyman is available. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. Those are both two really great things. And men in the picture don't also, if you have anything to, no, I don't, feel free to speak to about these women. Okay, so our culture. So cultural differences are huge, can be huge when you are in a relationship with someone who's from a different culture, because they have different thoughts, different ideas, different values, different ways that they see things for different reasons. And that can be cultures from other countries, or that can be differences in cultures when it just comes to like race or religion. So a lot of times when we are talking with someone from a different culture, we do have to spend a lot more time. You have to spend a lot more time explaining why it is that things are this way, or why it is that you are seeing it differently. And it's because when we're brought up, we are our environment. We are who we were raised to be. Hey, Designs by Cat Pro, welcome in. I'm so happy you're here. I appreciate you being here. So when we are dealing with different cultures, bottom line, you have to spend a lot more time explaining what your culture is, especially if they're in your culture and you're not in their culture. Like if they've stepped away from their culture and kind of stepped more into your culture, then you have to spend a lot more time explaining and a lot more time helping them to get comfortable in your culture. And that involves, like I say, a lot more explaining, a lot more helping them to understand why it is. And you can't get angry about it. You can't get angry because they don't understand. You have to realize that it's new to them. It's like a fish out of water, being a fish out of water sometimes. And we can't get mad about having to explain, because you take on that responsibility when we enter into relationships with someone of a different culture. And that's just what it is. You have to be willing to do that. And prayerfully, if we speak what needs to be said in a kind and loving manner, they're going to be more open and more willing to receive it. Because a lot of times in the beginning of a relationship, people are open. They're excited. They want to know everything about your culture. They want to know, oh, your culture is so phenomenal. But then after a while, when you've been in a relationship or in a marriage for a long time, then it starts to get irritating, and you start to get frustrated with having to constantly, like, why am I still having to tell you that? Why am I still having to explain this to you? Like, you should just understand and know this by now. But they don't. And they're still set in their ways and set in how they do things. And it can be difficult because they don't want to change their culture, or they don't want to change who they are, or get away from who they are just to be with you. So you really have to learn to embrace both cultures. Like, you have to embrace their culture as much as they're embracing yours. And if there's something you don't like about their culture, you are definitely, going to have a hard time having some of those conversations. And a lot of times it's not about whether or not we like something that goes on in their culture, but sometimes we just have to respect that it's different. Or you have to decide, okay, you all do this in your culture, and that's not something that I believe or want to participate in. So when it comes to me being in your situation or in your culture, if I'm going to step back from doing that, or and you all have to get to a place where you're okay with that, because there may be some things that they don't want to do, and that may make you upset if they're not participating in everything that's involved in your culture, because you want them to be involved in everything that you have, because because it's important to you, but it may not be important to them. And so, and it may not be something that they're willing to change about themselves, especially like when it comes to religious things, or, habits, or, things such as that. So you have to be prepared to have some understanding of, okay, this person is not going to participate in this. Am I going to be okay with that? How are we going to get through that? How are we going to get through this being different? Them not participating with me, or me not participating with them. Like, how much is this going to really impact our relationship? And is it going to impact it to a point to where I am not going to be able to handle them not being involved in that? My parents, and I'll share this with you all. My parents had married for 25 years. And then my father ended up passing. My mother was very religious about going to church and being involved in church and all that. Now, my father did eventually, accept Christ, but he was not going to church on no time. Once a year, he would go once a year to church. And my mother had to get to a place where she was okay. She had to be okay with that, because number one, it didn't make him, number one, he was saved. So that, they did have the same baseline, belief, but he was non-participatory at all when it came to anything involved with church, because he had his own thoughts and opinions about, church and this, that, and the other. But they got to where they had a level of understanding where he didn't bother her. He was okay with her participating and being involved in, in the things that she was involved in. And she had to be okay with him not participating. So, and that's something sometimes that you have to come to a place of agreement on. Am I going to be okay with this? Can we compromise? Don't hinder me from doing it. I'm not going to make you do it, but don't hinder me from doing it. Okay. So that may be a conversation that you have to have. And then it also may need to be, well, I don't mind you participating in these things, but I don't want it to consume so much of your life that we no longer have time or space together. So I need you to and still include space for me in your life, even though you're involved in these other things that are culturally a part of your life. So, and that sometimes is a conversation we need to have, that needs to be had. Let's see. What was Vern's? Oh, you tell him something needs fixing because he's not handy until I find a handyman. Okay, so he doesn't. So there, he's that last minute person. I'll fix it when, and when you're fed up, then you bring someone in that he wants to get to fixing it. Am I understanding that right? Yeah. Well, you can have that conversation with him, Burns. I'm really frustrated because I talk with you about wanting to have something fixed around the house, and it seems to not be important to you until I get impatient and want to bring in somebody to fix it, and then you decide that you want to fix it. So, and I don't want to waste my. And if you trust him fixing it, Burns, and he can actually fix it, then let him know this is a waste of money for me to bring someone else in. Or you may want to get to when I know that you are perfectly capable of fixing it, to a level to where we're both happy with it. Or you may want to even say, I had another thought and then it left my mind. You may want to even just say, tell me, when can I give me a time that you can commit to get this done, to work on this project for us or to fix this thing. And that way it is on their terms, right? Like, I'm not just doing it because you want me to do it. I'm doing it because you need me to do it, but I'm also doing it when I'm able or willing to do it. So sometimes we want people to do things when we want them to do it, and we take them out of the equation. So then that raises a barrier. But if we say, hey, this is happening over here, and I really need you to, this is really bothering us, or this is affecting our home in this way, or whatever. Can you let me know, or can you give me a time when it's convenient for you to fix this problem for us? When can I depend on you to do it? When can I depend on this getting done? And that tends to put the person, and that puts them in the equation, like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get that done, but this is when I plan on doing that. And that usually comes across way better than us asking somebody to do something or telling them to do something. And then when they don't do it, we just get mad because they didn't do it when we wanted them to do it, when we didn't even give them an opportunity to say when, it could be done, when they were able to do it. Let's see. Should discussions about culture, religion, etc. happen prior to committing to the relationship? Absolutely. The more you can talk about things prior to a relationship, the better off you will be. The better off you will be if you can, talk about things. And it's more important to talk about those difficult conversations before you commit to getting married. Now, don't think that just because you talked about it, that it can't ever change, or that that's just what is. It's like, well, no, before we got married, you said this. And so that means you can never change that because it does. It happens. It changes. So, but the more you can talk about it, then at least you can be less surprised when things happen. It's like, well, yeah, they did say that they were, kind of a messy person, or they did say that they weren't that great with money, or they did say that they were super close to their family and they like to spend a lot of time with them. So when they're at your house all the time, you don't have to, be surprised. Now you can talk about limiting, how much they visit, or talk about, how we're going to help each other manage this money situation or whatever. But when people tell you things in the dating phase of your relationship, pay attention. Don't just assume that they're just talking out of the side of their neck. They're actually, I actually find that people sometimes are more honest when they're dating than when they're married, because they will say things, because it's kind of like people are testing the waters. They'll throw stuff out there just to see what you think about it, and because we're all in the lovey-dovey phase. We're like, oh, that's okay. Oh, really? Oh, that's no big deal. Or that's not a problem. And then, a year, 6 months, a year, 5 years into it, we're like, oh my God, like I cannot believe, this is happening. I cannot believe, we're dealing with this. When actually they told you up front, they told you in the beginning. So a lot of times we just have to pay attention to those things that are being said in the dating part of our relationship, but it's hard to do when we're sort of jaded by love, in the beginning. So, and we think that it's not going to be as much of a problem as it actually becomes, or we think we can change it. So, and that's another conversation. So we can't, we have to date and communicate when there's things that we don't like. We have to say, if that thing never changes about that person, will I be able to handle it? If it never changes, will I be able to handle it? And if you can say that, then you can feel more comfortable about stepping into marriage. Hey, Mommy Jobs, welcome in. Glad to see you. Should discuss. Okay. I'm trying to always be involved with my wife, and my wife's trying to be involved with my family. I'm trying to always be involved with my wife, and my wife's trying to be involved with my family. I'm not quite sure what the problem is there. Let's see. And my wife's trying to be involved. Okay. So you're wanting to spend more time with your wife, and your wife is wanting to spend more time with your family. Is that kind of what I'm hearing? If that's the case, you want to make sure that you let them know, like, I appreciate you spending time. I appreciate the love and concern and the care that you have about wanting to spend time with my family. But I want to make sure that your time with my family doesn't intrude, or, doesn't prevent us from spending time with each other as well. So I want to make sure that we keep our relationship the priority. So no matter who's in your life, kids, family members, parents, whatever, let them know, you have to have good understanding that you and that person are the two main people and most important people in that relationship. And the needs between you and that person need to be met first before anybody else in that house, before the kids, before the parents, before the friends, before the church people, whoever. You and that person that you're in a relationship with are the number one priority. And your needs and your desires and your, expectations and all those things need to be met first. You and your spouse are your first ministry. Then come the kids, then come the parents, then come all those outside people. Okay. So yeah, definitely let them know that, you want to spend time. Oh, okay. Thank you, Alice. Yes, that is the time for us. Check for the red flags. Dating phase. It's harder to address, in my opinion, after the commitment is made. Yeah, it is harder, but you still can address it, and you still can talk through those difficult situations. So guys, it is 9:30. That hour went by super fast, and I was super excited to talk to you all. And I hope that you got, some kind of little nuggets out of today. Next week, we are actually going to be kind of talking about anger. I've been getting a lot of, messages about people who are struggling with, trying to communicate through their anger. So I definitely can tell next week we're going to be talking about anger. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you to my mods, my amazing mods who were in the chat, Vern's Junk Closet and Cynthia Ink and Brand. I appreciate you all so much for helping out tonight. And I will be here next Saturday night from 8:30 to 9:30. There's going to be a tip coming out on Tuesday morning, and then there'll be a lesson on Thursday. And then next week, we will be doing next Saturday, we'll be having another live session from 8:30 to 9:30. I appreciate you all so much. And stop by my live tomorrow it's 7. Yeah, I should be able to do that. 7 p.m. your time, be 6 p.m. my time. Yeah, I'll definitely try to pop in there. Thank you, Verns. Hello, V-Loves, TNN. I appreciate you coming in. Yes, if you have any difficult situations or conversations or topics that are too sensitive to discuss here in the chat, Cynthia Ingenbrand has put my email out there in the chat. Write it down. Feel free to email me anytime. I'll get back with you as soon as possible. Um, I'll try to definitely within 24 hours. If you can just kind of give me at least 24 hours to get back with you. I am a wife. I am a mother, and we do have a household, and I do have a full-time job. So please just give me an opportunity, at least 24 hours, to email you back. Okay, real quick, I just want to say a quick prayer for those of you, and then we'll head out of here. Okay, Father, I just want to thank you for this evening. Thank you for this time that I've been able to share with these your children, Father, who have showed up here to receive what it is that you have to say. Father, we appreciate your love and your grace and your mercy. We appreciate you giving us the unction to be brave and to be strong. We appreciate the manual that you've left us with these so many valuable instructions for how we can, communicate better and talk our way to healthier relationships if we just get in your word and see what it is that you have for us to say and how it is that we need to say it. We thank you. I just lift up each and every person here in this chat, the things that they're struggling with and dealing with, and help them to accomplish and to be brave and to be free from the enemy strongholds that's keeping them held in fear, to say what it is that needs to be said and work out the situations in the conversations that need to be had. We appreciate you, we love you, we thank you, and we praise your holy name. These things we ask in your son Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I will see you all. Thank you. Yes, if you didn't get an opportunity, please thumbs up the live stream. And I will see you all next Saturday. Take care. Bye-bye.